question is, I am in good physical health, and when I went to hunger strike, what made me cause to stop after 40 days? Was it because I was afraid to die? I would like to be very candid this afternoon. I went on a hunger strike as a protest to what they did to me in the military commission. But more than a symbolic protest, I must admit I had a death wish. I wanted to die. And so I went on until I lost about 40 pounds. From 163, I dropped to about 127. And then I was rushed to the hospital. My mother cried, and my wife, naturally, and my children, but I was determined. I felt that I've served a full life, and it was time to go. But somehow, on the 40th day, I was struck by that letter of Father de la Costa to me. And he said, "Do you think by trying to die you are being courageous?" He said, "You're not being courageous, you're a coward. It is more courageous to go on living. You're opting out. You're escaping. And it's an act of cowardice. To continue living and to continue fighting." He said, "It's more courageous." And ultimately he said, "If you believe in the divine will, do not interfere with his will. Let his will be done." If you will recall, Secretary Enrile was the one who linked me to the CIA. But how can Secretary link me when he already has in his possession a letter saying that I've never been with the CIA? Now, that is the contradiction in his part, not on my part. He claimed that there were monitored conversations here while in my room I was talking to a colonel, and I claimed. Now, these were bug conversations. On the basis of that, he now went to the press and says, Aquino claimed he's a CIA agent. But if he already has a document saying that I have never been a CIA agent by the CIA himself, why did he ever bring it out? To embarrass me, to say that I'm a liar? In other words, I will no longer go into the hassle of all of this CIA business. I stand by the record of that CIA clearing me that I have never been a CIA agent or never been trained by them, so let it be. Philippine bases in the Philippines. In the Philippines, be maintained, however, that rentals must be collected along the Spanish model. But let me divide the question. Firstly, I believe that when it comes to foreign policy, both the majority and the opposition should not wash their dirty linen in public. And therefore, I suggest a bipartisan approach to foreign policy. In other words, we should not be talking outside, where our negotiating opponent will be using both ends against the middle. I think that is against Filipino interests. So that we should have a working agreement among ourselves before we go out. I am therefore in agreement with the Philippine government's position that we should assert our sovereignty on this basis, that we should collect rentals. Now, why do I say this? It is true that the United States government has been giving us military aid for the last 30 years under the Mutual Defense Assistance Pact. But it's also true that the Philippine Army has been the most neglected armies in Asia by the United States for the simple reason that we have not a frontline army. And so I said, rather than continue a situation of this nature, may we therefore ask the United States government that they pay us rentals for this basis so that with these rentals we can now update the position of our armed forces, we can have our own missile batteries, we can have our own missile frigates, we can have our own modern weaponry, rather than go out with our hands out, so that this will be a quid pro quo basis.